Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mark and Smark Connection podcast. My name is Matt. I am the Mark, and with me is the Smark, Jesse Disbro.
That's me. Hello. How are you doing this fine day?
Oh, I'm doing great. So, if you're listening for the first time, we have segments. The first part is called Marking Out. The second part is called the Big Meaty Topics, and the last part for this episode is the Hot Tag, Hot Take. So, let's go to the first part. The marking out segment. Guess what? I get to do that. So the marking out segment is where I, the Mark, choose one thing from the entirety of wrestling the entire week and I mark out about it. That could be WWE, AEW, New Japan, doesn't matter. So this week I am marking out about the fact that AEW had their pay-per-view, all for one for all, or no.
Double or nothing. It's their WrestleMania.
Yes, Double or Nothing. It is their WrestleMania. I saw clips of it on YouTube. Evidently, everybody had a good time.
Yeah.
What came out of that, Jesse?
What a lot of people had the best time about was the Stadium Stampede match, which was the big finisher in the Jaguars Stadium.
That's the one I saw most of the clips from, where people were running around in football jerseys, and Mike Tyson was there.
Mike Tyson, he was. He actually bestowed the TNT title to Cody after Cody won the tournament against Lance Archer to become the very first AEW TNT champion. And now, actually, there's angles going forward with Mike Tyson and former MMA wrestlers who might be joining or having some sort of wrestling match at the next AEW next AEW pay-per-view Fyter Fest. So,
yeah, by the way, the Fyter Fest, really?
Fyter Fest. FYTER Fyter Fest.
They didn't name that after that incredibly failed music fest.
No, they named it after I guess the name of the event is a parody of the fraudulent Fire Festival.
Yes. Okay. Anywho, I saw gifs of Mike Tyson ripping his shirt off, Jake the Snake Roberts dancing around, Sammy Guevara in a jersey. I saw some mascots and everything.
Yeah, the Stadium Stampede match, I just kind of shoved that all together into one word. Was very fun, very interesting. I saw a lot of people who mentioned that this was kind of like WWE's recent Money in the Bank ladder match and the Funhouse match, etc., etc. Except it did a bit better fan service for that, a little bit better than, say, John Laurinaitis scooting in on his scooter and going people power. This instead had some stuff that things like Matt Hardy getting dunked into the water and coming back up as different versions of himself, different versions from WWE even. So the Hardy Boys and Mattitude and version 2.0 and all that business. So
okay,
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Sounds like fun. So who were the new champions of the night?
So besides the TNT title, nothing really changed hands. The Best Friends became the number one contender for the AEW tag titles, and
I like the name of their tag team. So
and Hikaru Shida actually did beat Nyla Rose in the no disqualification, no countout match for the AEW Women's World Championship.
So we have a new women's champion.
Mm-hmm. New women's champion.
Congrats to her.
Jon Moxley actually scored a technical submission by Brody Lee. They TKO'd him.
Okay.
And then in the big match, when Joe would be proud, there was the casino ladder match, and the winner got to pull down a big poker chip.
So our connection, if he were here, Joseph Lally, would be very happy to hear that.
Yes, he would be. None of us were able to guess correctly who the person who would win it was, because it was a ninth competitor, one that we hadn't even heard about. It was basically, they pulled a Brock Lesnar on us. Remember when Brock ran in at the end to win the Money in the Bank? Well, Brian Cage, who had most recently been with Impact Wrestling, was brought out by Taz before the match, but he was the ninth person in this 8-man match. And Cage basically just threw everybody around and eventually just won, climbed up, took the chip down, and now he's going to cash it in at the next pay-per-view Fyter Fest against Jon Moxley.
Okay.
Yeah. Cage is a big, meaty dude. He's just the kind of person that Vince McMahon would love. I'm sure all the AEW fans want to hear that for the person who's challenging for the AEW title. But
so speaking of Vince McMahon, what went down over in the WWE?
Well, there was title change over in the WWE as well, as Apollo Crews beat Andrade to become the United States champion.
Apollo Crews, man, I like that dude.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that he's like gone over. That sounds wonderful. Whew. I mean, I like Andrade as well.
Yeah.
But I also like Apollo Crews. And then I think Andrade and Charlotte are going to go off and get married soon. So this is just me speculating with absolutely no evidence. But
I would say no evidence because Charlotte was in action on Raw and also will be in action against Asuka on Raw this week. And probably was at 4 or 5 other shows this week, even though there was only 3 this week.
Yes, by the way, reminder, Charlotte's on every show, and Jesse hates it.
Yes, so let's go to something that I don't hate. The Street Profits beat the Viking Raiders in golf.
Golf?
Yes, golf!
Seriously, they're playing golf?
Yes, yeah, that's what they did. They,
Like pro golf or miniature golf?
Well, so they started out playing regular golf, and they even came like the Viking Raiders even came out in like traditional Scottish golf attire, including the snap hat, the flop hat. I can't remember what is it called.
Don't get me lying. You mean that little poofy hat with the ball on top?
No. The one that has the brim, but the front of the hat goes down onto the brim.
Oh, it's called a flat cap, you please.
Yes, there you go, flat cap.
Yes.
I started trying to come up with F names, because I knew what it was, I just couldn't remember.
Yeah. When you're on a podcast with me, don't get the name of hats wrong.
Yeah. Well, I do know the difference between So Matt has a very important pet peeve about a certain kind of hat.
Yes.
And whether somebody has this correct version of this hat. Because when he sees a fedora, he wants it to be a fedora.
But it is often a trilby, and that drives me nuts. And people are like, look at me in my fedora. I'm like, no, you asshole! You're wrong! That's a trilby!
Well, luckily enough, no one was wearing a trilby or a fedora when they went out there to the golf course, though perhaps the person who has to fix all of the divots from the golf course excursion will be wearing one, because he'll be out there all day.
Were they taking chunks out of the green?
Yeah, they were. They were taking chunks out of the grass and chunks out of turkey legs at the same time.
Well, I mean, the Vikings, can't blame them.
No, you can't. But with rather not causing any more destruction, they went to a local miniature golf course, and that's where the Street Profits came out to shine. So.
Oh, that's nice. That's the nice thing about miniature golf courses is you can bash your club against the entire scenery and it won't hurt anything. I'm not advocating that.
No,
don't go and like attack the windmill with your the putter they lent you.
No Don Quixote jousting right now. You got to keep it. Use the club the way the Scotsman intended it.
That was a fantastic reference, by the way.
Yes, thank you. So unless this week's crazy thing is actually tilting at windmills, the Viking Raiders have to win whatever crazy thing they come up with this week, so that when we finally get to Backlash in their match, it'll be a 2-2 tie in the series, with the wrestling match being the decider.
I feel like they're going to be playing skee ball next week, or laser tag.
Laser tag would be very interesting. I would vote for that one over skee ball at this point.
That's just probably because you suck at skee ball.
No, I'm actually pretty reasonable at skee ball, but I feel like we could get more comedic value and entertainment out of those two playing laser tag than skee ball.
And then we've run the gamut of like carnival sideshow games.
Perfect.
Which, to be honest, is in the wrestling tradition, if you consider its roots. So,
speaking of the wrestling tradition, leaving and joining new stables is a time-honored tradition. And in case you missed it, Austin Theory left the Zelina Vega stable and actually joined the Seth Rollins stable.
Okay.
So he and Murphy beat Humberto Carrillo and Aleister Black this week.
Goddamn. Why was it? Wait a minute. Why was Aleister Black in that stable? Is it just because he's
No, Aleister Black. Humberto Carrillo is one of the guys who was defending against the Zelina Vega stable.
Okay.
So they just happened to kind of carry his rivalry against Theory over to this mismatched pairing.
Okay.
And then Nia Jax earned a Raw Women's title match against Backlash, so she's not that far off from a Blue Brand match, I believe. But she beat Charlotte and Natalya to earn the opportunity.
Okay.
Yep, I know, it was very exciting.
No, I don't mean to yawn about that, but it's like, I mean, that sounds like, there's no real like acrimony or animosity between these people. It's like they threw that up into the air and it happened. So,
once again, the single best thing that happened on wrestling this week was on WWE NXT.
NXT, of course.
Yes, and you can guess what it is probably if you've been following our podcast the last few weeks.
I know exactly what it is.
I was going to let you educate everybody.
No. That's for you to say. You're smart. I'll just wait.
Yeah, okay. So it was clearly the fact that Chelsea Green was the tag team partner for Charlotte.
Don't fuck with me, Jesse.
That was what happened. That was the only reason why I continued to watch the rest of the match. I mean, the rest of the show. There was a ridiculous NXT Fight Pit match, which was this cage match with Kurt Angle as the referee, where Timothy Thatcher dispatched Matt Riddle, who...
Jesus, Kurt Angle is showing up everywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the one place he showed up. But anyway, Matt Riddle, the word on the street is Matt Riddle is being called up, so this is the way to put him out on his back.
Okay. Yeah, no, I heard that Matt Riddle was going up to SmackDown.
Yeah, that's, I think, where I heard, too.
All right.
I also got to see Shotzi Blackheart in action, which was cool.
We haven't heard her in a while.
Yeah, she ended up losing, but it was because of chicanery, so...
She lost to chicanery?
Yep.
Chicanery.
Yes, not a wrestler named Chicanery, but but like to somebody, to Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai, who are teaming together, they ended up causing distractions, and
turns out I don't care.
Raquel Gonzalez won. Yes, no, you don't care. I know you don't care about Drake Maverick defeating Kushida and Jake Atlas to win Group A.
I've already told you.
And face El Hijo del Fantasma for the interim NXT Cruiserweight title.
Yes, wonderful, great. I still think it's kind of distasteful that they have Drake Maverick. Oh, I've already been laid off. I'm going to fight for my job. Amidst everybody else who's been laid off.
So when
fired.
Okay.
Or
so it will stop being distasteful when Drake Maverick is finally fired.
So I see what you're doing here. No, it's going to be distasteful forever.
It will be distasteful forever when he's been re-signed to a contract and everyone else has been re-signed to a contract because coronavirus has finally been dispelled from the lands.
No, don't go off in a left field. I mean, it's distasteful in the circumstance that a lot of people were laid off, told, go home, sent their packing papers or whatever, and Jake Maverick is still wrestling, probably getting paid, with an angle that he was laid off, but I'm going to... The rest of them didn't get that shit.
Yeah, the rest of them got to go to AEW, like The Revival, who showed up this week on Dynamite, on the Dynamite after Double or Nothing, I
Fucking
guess is what it's called. Hashtag
those
Dynamite
wrestlers
after Double or Nothing.
those wrestlers whose names I always forget, like Herc Hawkins or the other guy who likes the Ghostbusters.
They're
What are
they're having a
now?
fun time going to every podcast and talking to every podcast right now.
I'm certain they're making as much money as they did in the WWE, right?
Well, it's very. I'm not sure what the AEW contracts are, but they're probably they're probably not as good as WWE's best contracts. But the best contracts for AEW might be up there with some of the lower contracts of WWE. And there's supposed to be health insurance included in the AEW, so there's possibly more benefits, even if they're not getting paid as much.
That's great. But I want to reiterate the fact that these people were laid off in the middle of a pandemic where they could not go and find work because gatherings were restricted, and it sucks for them. And I don't like the fact that Drake Maverick has a, I was laid off, but I'm going to fight my way back angle. I like Drake Maverick. I have nothing personal against him, but
yeah, well, next week he's gonna show up wearing a Trilby hat and he's gonna call it a fedora and you're gonna explode.
Oh no, I'm gonna throw my controller at the screen.
Well, I don't know if he's going to face Elio del Fantasma at NXT Takeover in Your House, which is next Sunday. We'll go ahead and probably preview that this Sunday, like we did the previous, like we did with the AEW pay-per-view. So, but we'll swing that. We'll hit that on our way out of the door later. For now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the SmackDown, and what we're gonna talk about is the Intercontinental Championship Tournament semifinals, and I'm gonna tell you what happened in them. So in the one semifinal, Daniel Bryan ended up facing Sheamus to win a spot, and in the other semifinal, AJ Styles won by forfeit.
Forfeit. Okay.
Yep. So that's going to be the Intercontinental Championship title match for the vacant title.
Okay. Great.
Yep, and nothing weird happened that caused that. Nope, everything weird happened that caused that, and we'll talk
I was
about
about
that.
to say, what the fuck?
But let's get a little palate
happened?
cleanser first. Shorty G is back in action, and he beat Cesaro, so yay.
No good. Gee, are they still calling him that?
Yeah, they are, but, you know,
Okay.
he's got to do what he's got to work with the hand that was dealt to him.
Not
And
saying it's his fault. Hey!
Otis and Mandy Rose did a Fast Times kind of homage in a vignette, so both of them were poolside wearing bikinis, so that was fun.
Wait, Otis was also wearing a bikini.
Yes. I mean, not the top, just the trunks. Though he was wearing his t-shirt, which essentially is a bikini because it's the, shoulders are exposed and the belly is exposed, etc., etc.
No, I'm certain that's like a bikini for him.
Mhm.
It's a tank top for the rest of us. As long as they had a good time, wonderful.
Yep. Yeah, much wonderful. And I'm sure everybody who was included in this next angle also had a good time. I mean, in kayfabe, they didn't have a good time because Elias was hit by a car and Jeff Hardy was arrested as the potential perpetrator of said event.
Wait a minute.
And he was
Elias
taken into custody.
got hit by a car, and Jeff Hardy was driving, and they arrested him.
It was a hit and run, so it wasn't completely clear that it was Jeff Hardy, but they arrested Jeff Hardy under suspicion that he was driving under the influence, and
really,
yes, really, and it turns out he was released.
I've always found it distasteful, but I mean, you have to cherry pick the reality you can put into storylines or whatever. I don't think Jeff Hardy's fucking DWI problems, which is well documented. Yeah, that's right, you asshole. You fell off. I'm not gonna save you. So I don't think Jeff Hardy's DWI problems are something to be put on television. I really don't. I mean, there's no way to come back from that.
I don't know. It's not like he hasn't come back from it before. It's been noted before. It is widely known that he's had issues. They've actually played to the fact here, and they made a big point to note that he was released and cleared of all charges during the show.
Now, I still don't like it. It was
so
like when
would
would
you like him to kidnap the damsel in distress and tie them to some rails here? Would you like him to come out and say, "I love America, and I know you do too. Let's beat up this foreign guy"?
Listen, don't throw platitudes at my feet. What I'm saying is,
what you're saying is with wrestling.
No. What I'm saying is, for example, Scott Hall in the WCW, they made a gimmick of him drinking too much. That was a real life problem of his. I'm not saying it exacerbated his problems, but I felt it was in poor taste. And I think the same thing is happening here with that.
So if Jeff Hardy did not have an issue with substance abuse, but then they booked him in a potential DUI angle, you wouldn't have a problem with that, because it's not taking a real life issue into a fake entertainment story, right?
Okay, it's a good question. I'm going to say this. I don't think...
I'll let you ruminate on that for a minute.
No. You can't separate this from the reality of it, because Jeff Hardy has had problems with substance abuse. That hypothetical doesn't work in this circumstance.
Right, but this is entertainment, and you're trying to get the most nuanced and potentially realistic story here. So when somebody on Mad Men gets into a hit and run, it's good television. But I think what we're trying to say here is playing off of the real life situation and knowing that there's an issue here, and knowing that people who saw the bit and maybe goes, "Oh, hey, there was I missed Jeff Hardy hitting somebody and hit a run and DUI." So you type in Jeff Hardy DUI and you find out all sorts of sordid details from his history that you may not have noticed before.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's part of it, because there's the history attached to Jeff Hardy, the person. And also, if you compare a drama like Mad Men to wrestling, it's difficult to do, because Mad Men is created of whole cloth. Wrestling is not.
So what you're saying is there weren't actually ad men in the past who were womenizers and drunkards?
Well, I mean, from whole cloth of the actors that portray them, but in wrestling, these people, for many years, walked around and pretended this was a real thing. Mm-hmm. And there's still that element, there's still that line of it running through wrestling.
Right, okay, I get what you're saying. So playing in that area, like the what's real, what's not area, that is not necessarily unique to wrestling, but one of the things that is unique to it versus many other forms of entertainment, should be done carefully, and there are certain times when such a thing could be in poor taste.
Yeah, and I think in this moment it's in poor taste because everybody knows Jeff Hardy has had problems with DWIs. Mm-hmm. And so whenever you put him on screen running over Elias and you're like, "Oh, DWI," that it rubs me the wrong fucking way. It feels exploitative beyond a point of what, like, somebody on Mad Men running over somebody with the John Deere lawnmower in their office might do. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yes, clearly. That was the best episode of Mad Men, by the way, when the John Deere tractor came through the office and ran somebody over. I think it was 2-3 Emmys.
I have no idea.
Anyway, you know what else is a little exploitative? The whole rumor mill of when somebody leaves the company or their contract expires. I don't know. It's a lot of headlines, and people are like, "Oh, he's going to AEW. He's going here. He's going there." And I myself even venture to guess to a place that may not be WWE. But it turns out, just because you leave WWE doesn't mean you can't re-sign there.
Are you talking about fucking Kurt Angle?
No, I'm talking about Drew Gulak, whose contract expired. And they apparently there was an offer on the table, and Gulak asked for some more money, and the WWE pulled the offer, and then let the contract expire. And then Drew Gulak was on SmackDown this week, and it was reported that he had signed a new multi-year agreement, a new multi-year deal. So
yeah, good for him.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, you should be very disappointed in him, because this is a time when people were being let go, and he managed to keep his job. So god damn it.
Listen, no, just get the fuck out of my face with that happy horse shit. I'm complaining about the fact that Drake Maverick was announced to have been laid off and is fighting for his quote-unquote job in this angle.
Right.
Not...
Yes, I understand. This is another one of those blurry bits where if you look back, it's entirely possible that this has been a work the entire time. And that
well, if it's a work, then it's in poor fucking taste.
Uh-huh.
So...
Yep. I could have counterpoints for you, but I don't want to because it's not worth it.
I mean, to be honest, wrestling has a history of having works that are in poor taste.
Correct.
Some of them make a great television.
Mm-hmm.
Others leave a bad taste in your mouth. And that's what I got right now.
Well, let's see. Would Adam Cole versus the Velveteen Dream and the Velveteen Dream winning that NXT TakeOver In Your House match wipe that taste out of your mouth?
Why did that happen?
No, because that's the NXT TakeOver Championship match coming up.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Do you want the longest
yeah,
NXT Championship reign to continue, or do you want the Velveteen Dream to win?
Yeah, this is an interesting thing you bring up. It's like blah 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 blah. Fuck wrestling. These guys are assholes. Who do you want to win? Oh, I want the Velveteen Dream to win. It's like, you still keep coming back to it at some point. And when is it enough? You know.
You know when it's enough? When the WWE apparently had pre-taped this match. So it might be one of the more cinematic versions of a match. So we'll have to see what that means for the Velveteen Dream. Whether there's like dream space to be played in, or whether it's just going to be like the Last Man Standing match at WrestleMania.
We'll have to find out.
And here's here's the other championship matches. The North American Championship is up for grabs as Keith Lee defends against Johnny Gargano.
Well, I hope Keith Lee wins.
I think so too. I think he'll hold on to it. Gargano's already won the championship, and while it would be cool to see him get it back, I think at this point it's not the time. The NXT Championship is on the line, and we talked a little bit about this match, I believe, last week. Charlotte Flair will be facing Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai.
I hope Io Shirai wins.
I think it's possible that they pull the trigger on Charlotte Flair losing the title, especially if Matt's third wrestling sense, or eighth wrestling sense, wherever it slots in its ability, of thinking that there's a wedding to be had and there's some time off to be had is actually true. It's still.
Wait. You're saying Charlotte and Rhea Ripley are going to get married?
No, you have already said today on this podcast, which I could probably reach and pull back for you. In fact, what I'll do is I'll probably cut it in instead of that spot where you're yelling at your cat. Where you talked about Charlotte Flair and Andrade going to be wed because Andrade lost his title. So if Charlotte loses her title, perhaps a wedding is in the future. There will not be a wedding between Tommaso Ciampa and Karrion Kross. There will be a beatdown.
Okay, Jesus Christ. I should hire you somewhere, Jesse. Ah, you're so good at that. Yes, Tommaso Ciampa and Karrion Kross. For what?
Nothing. For who runs the show in NXT.
Right, it's going to wind up being Karrion Kross because you need a little bit of new blood in there, man.
That's probably true. I agree with you on that one. And Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. Remember, Priest was the guy who attacked Finn Balor. So we'll see what's the deal here, whether Damian Priest gets to get some more get some more value to his brand by beating Finn Balor, or whether it's too much to ask Finn Balor to continue to lose here.
I see what you're saying. I didn't know what to predict on that.
I don't know what to do on that one either. I'm just going to let that one lie. I'd like to see Finn Balor win, but
I'm going to flip this coin right now.
Mm-hmm.
Heads, Finn Balor. Tails, Karrion Kross. Oh, it's Tails, Karrion Kross.
You mean Damian Priest?
Yes, Damian Priest.
Yep.
Okay, the wrong name was assigned to that. Let's try that again. Heads, Finn Balor. Tails, Damian Priest. Tails again.
All right, Tails never fails. Damian Priest wins. Fatality. So Candice LeRae will face Mia Yim in a match as well. And most likely that will go in the opposite of direction of however the Keith Lee-Johnny Gargano match goes. So since we think Keith Lee will win, that means Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano's wife, will win this match.
Cool. Wait a minute. Keith Lee is Johnny Gargano's wife?
No. You I don't know what you've been smoking over there.
I was going to say, I got my wires crossed.
You did. I know. Lee and Yim are a couple, and LeRae and Gargano are a couple. Okay. So they've decoupled to have their matches.
The connected lines on the board I have here on my apartment wall. Okay, great.
Yes, you've got it. Yes, there's the big board which shows every wrestler and how to pronounce their names that Matt completely disregards every time we have a podcast.
But I do glance at it, so I know who we're talking about, relatively speaking. Okay, but if you're talking about the end of the podcast, I think this sounds like it's time for the hot take. So, if you're listening for the first time, the hot take is where me and Jesse choose something from wrestling and we talk about it, and the other person can't say shit because it's a hot take. And typically, we start the segment by one person saying
hot take, and jumping in and taking over the segment. So in this case, I am going to talk about something that is on the WWE.com website every week. It is the 25 best Instagram photos of the week. And if you are on Instagram, you know that Instagram is mostly for people taking selfies of themselves that may not be safe for work. And a lot of the times that's the photos that end up on WWE.com's 25 best Instagram photos of the week. Occasionally it's like, oh, look at this celebrity I'm with, which is a really awesome selfie. But oftentimes it's, Peyton Royce taking a selfie of herself and, things like that. There's a lot of Charlotte and Andrade in their many romantic adventures across the land in this bit. But this week, they actually kind of put a bit more equal opportunity in it. After many, many years of diva and attitude, bikini photo shoots, I think the balance is tipped a bit. Because there's a fantastic picture of John Hennigan, which is John Morrison, his ridiculously meaty arms. By the way, he's wearing a tank top by a clothing line from a person working on Impact right now in this photo. But there's also Matt Riddle in barely anything and his completely ripped body, and Cesaro, who has just come out of a pool. So, if you are looking for the man meat and have been very saddened by the fact that there has not been such on the WWE's 25 best Instagram photos of the week, and feel that there should be more equal opportunity, this is your week. Also, the debut of Real Scarlett Bordeaux on this. She is a top-level Instagram follow if you're looking for selfies.
All right, so now it's time for my turn for the hot take. I get to go second. And in this edition of my hot take, I just want to say, I think I saw a video of Dana Brooke and Elias doing this little Kiki dance. I saw it on Instagram. I actually don't know if it was Dana Brooke. I think it was. I actually really don't know if it was Elias. I think it was. But Go look it up. It's fun. Yay.
Yay, backstage stuff. Always a lot of fun.
Yep.
So, what else do we got going on?
We have the last part of our show called the finishing move. Now, the finishing move, if you're listening to the first time, is where I come up with the name of a finishing move, and Jesse has to come up with what it actually is. I'm the Mark, he's the Smark. That's the way it is. So, this week, the name of the finishing move is called In Poor Taste.
Mm-hmm. And so In Poor Taste is a move where you make the other wrestler show ass, which is when you know, the literal version of it. So you grab them, you have them up on the top rope, and you pull down their trunks just enough to see the crack in the definitions. And while they're going, oh no, you then grab them and snap mare them, and then do a big old leg drop. And
oh no!
Yep, big old Hogan style leg drop.
That is in poor taste.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, everybody.
After
we're
getting
done with
the
the
1,
episode.
2, 3. Yep, we're gonna run away.
I'm gonna talk over Jesse.
Yes,
I'm running away.
You know every place that our podcast can be found, correct?
Yes, you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, on the Moon, Instagram, New York, Philadelphia, Google, the Mark and Smark Connection podcast at Podbean, iTunes, all that happy horse shit. So we're gonna step on into the back, eat from the goddamn table, say hi to EC3. Oh, he's gone now. And then we're gonna get in the limo and we're gonna ride out while we're listening to the Mark and Smark Connection podcast. So for Jesse Dispro, my name is Matt Cooper. We'll see you guys next week.
From the moon.
From the moon, yes.